In the heart of Chicago's legal district, where skyscrapers loomed over concrete streets and the Everett McKinley Dirksen United States Courthouse stood like a fortress of law, a quiet storm was brewing, one that would challenge the very core of justice and strip the mask off a man who wore a badge for the wrong reasons. Jasmine Walker, a poised, brilliant black woman with a sharp mind and an even sharper sense of justice, paused at the bottom of the courthouse steps. Her blazer was perfectly pressed and her hair was pulled back into a neat bun that revealed her composed features. But behind those calm eyes, a wildfire of frustration burned. This was not how she expected to enter the building she knew so well, not as a federal prosecutor prepared to deliver justice, but as a defendant in a case built on lies, pride, and prejudice. Just 48 hours earlier, Jasmine had wrapped up a late evening at the Department of Justice's Chicago field office. She was elbows deep in a major narcotics case that was about to blow wide open. Exhausted, she climbed into her Lexus, a modest reward to herself after years of tireless work, and headed home. But flashing blue lights in her rearview mirror cut through the evening haze like an omen. She pulled over, confused but compliant, and watched as Officer Seth Branning swaggered up to her window. His face bore the expression of a man drunk on authority. Jasmine rolled down her window and greeted him politely, handing over her license and registration. Branning didn't return the courtesy. Instead, he barked orders with the subtlety of a sledgehammer and demanded she step out of the vehicle. When she asked, as calmly as she could, why she was being detained, he scowled. "You were speeding," he said, though she knew damn well the speed limit and had been 5 under. She didn't argue. She'd prosecuted too many cases where a simple question turned fatal for people who looked like her. She got out, hands visible, heart pounding. Branning rifled through her car like a man on a mission. When he found her DOJ credentials tucked into her wallet, he squinted and chuckled. "This some kind of joke?" he said, holding the badge like it was counterfeit. She calmly confirmed her identity, but it only fueled his arrogance. He waved over backup, and within minutes, Jasmine was being patted down on the shoulder of the highway in front of cameras, bystanders, and gawking civilians recording with phones. Branning's sneer deepened when he opened her trunk and found case files, confidential documents for her drug trafficking investigation. "You think you're untouchable just 'cause you got a government badge?" he spat. "Let's see how you like county lockup." That's when the cuffs clicked shut around her wrists. The metal was cold, but the humiliation burned hotter. Branning arrested her on charges so ridiculous they'd be laughable if they weren't so dangerous. Obstruction of justice, resisting arrest, possession of stolen government property. She spent hours in a holding cell before a Cuyahoga local defense attorney she'd once worked with called in favors to get her out. But the damage had been done. Word spread fast. And the next day, Jasmine received a court summons. She wasn't returning to the courthouse to prosecute criminals. She was returning to defend herself. That morning, as Jasmine stepped through the metal detectors, she felt like a ghost in her own world. The officers recognized her, still nodded, some even whispered support. But the stink of accusation was in the air. She could feel it clinging to her like a second skin. Her friend and ally, Senior Assistant U.S. Attorney Serena Morales, met her outside courtroom 3B. Tall, commanding, and sharp-tongued, Serena squeezed Jasmine's hand. "We're going to burn this bullshit to the ground," she whispered. Inside the courtroom sat Branning, relaxed and grinning. He leaned against the prosecution table like he owned the place, cracking jokes with a bailiff. Jasmine took a seat at the defendant's table, flanked by Serena. A place she never thought she'd be. The judge, the Honorable David McCrae, entered and took his place at the bench. Branning's attorney in overeager Jr. AD rattled off the charges like he was announcing a game show lineup. Jasmine's gut tightened. Then came Branning's smug tone as he described the suspicious behavior that warranted a search. He didn't mention her credentials. He didn't mention her ID being clearly visible. He certainly didn't mention how quickly backup showed up or how calmly Jasmine had complied. Serena stood, spine straight and voice firm. "Your Honor, Ms. Walker is a federal prosecutor. Those documents are official DOJ case files. Her credentials were on her person, her behavior non-aggressive. We welcome review of any dash cam or body cam footage." Judge McCrae furrowed his brow. "Officer Branning, where's the dash cam video?" "Malfunctioned that night," Branning said casually. "Technical glitch." "And the backup officers?" "Off duty," he shrugged. No body cams on. The judge's frown deepened. That's a lot of coincidence. Serena pressed forward, requesting an evidentiary hearing. The judge agreed to schedule it, unwilling to dismiss the case yet but clearly skeptical. Jasmine left the courtroom with a nauseous ache in her stomach. She was being smeared, and her career, her name, everything she had worked for was hanging by a thread. The days that followed were a blur of formal complaints to internal affairs, case preparation, and press rumors. Local news outlets ran slanted stories, some casting doubt, others parroting wild theories about leaked DOJ documents. One night, sitting in her apartment amid a mountain of case files, Jasmine had an idea. What if a nearby business had surveillance footage? She mapped out every possible camera along the stretch of road where she'd been pulled over. After a dozen calls, she struck gold. Sammy's Diner. Its owner, a no-nonsense man named Sam Green, agreed to let her review the footage before it auto-deleted. The camera's view was partially blocked by a lamppost, but the footage clearly showed Branning's cruiser pulling Jasmine over. The timeline was damning, less than 2 minutes between the stop and backup arriving. Jasmine never got aggressive. She stood still, visible, calm. It wasn't everything, but it was enough. At the next hearing, Serena presented the diner footage. The prosecutor tried to downplay it. Branning rolled his eyes. Then came the real twist. Toby Renshaw, the department's vehicle mechanic, contacted Serena. He was nervous, but guilt-ridden. In a quiet coffee shop, he admitted Branning had brought in his cruiser the next morning. Toby found scratch marks and chemical residue on the dash cam wiring, signs of tampering. He didn't speak up earlier because Branning threatened him. With Toby's photos and sworn statement in hand, Serena filed a motion to include it in the case. In court, Toby testified. He was nervous but honest. "I've worked on over 100 patrol cars," he said. "I've never seen corrosion like that. Someone sabotaged that camera." The air in the room changed. Judge McCrae's voice was cold. "Officer Branning, do you have anything to say?" Branning's lawyer tried to invoke his right to remain silent. The judge banged his gavel. "All charges against Ms. Walker are dismissed." Relief surged through Jasmine like a tidal wave. But it didn't end there. Judge McCrae forwarded evidence of Branning's conduct to federal investigators. Within days, Branning was suspended. Media scrutiny exploded. Internal Affairs reopened past complaints, many from Black and Latino residents who'd accused Branning of racial profiling. More evidence surfaced. Fake reports, racist emails, cover-ups. He was indicted for obstruction of justice and evidence tampering. Meanwhile, Jasmine's name was cleared. Her DOJ supervisor reinstated her on the narcotics case. She received a formal apology from Judge McCrae and was offered a commendation for integrity under fire. She declined the spotlight. She wasn't in this for glory. She was in it for justice. And every time she walked into that courtroom, she remembered that traffic stop. Not with fear but with fuel. Because she had stood her ground. Because she had exposed a system failure. Because she refused to be silent. And because real justice, the kind that doesn't wear a smug grin or carry a tainted badge, had finally spoken loud and clear.